to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we're going to administer the oath of office to the newly elected board members. We're going to have Meredith go first.
I, Meredith Volpe,
I, Meredith Volpe,
do solemnly
swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of board member of the Sachem Board of Education
of board member of the Sachem Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congrats.
All right, I'll go next.
I, Alex Picarillo,
I, Alex Picarillo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of board member of the Sachem Board of Education
of board member of the Board of Education of Sachem
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congrats.
At this time, we're going to have Allison administer the oath of office to the Superintendent of Schools, Christopher Pelletieri.
I, Christopher J. Pelletieri,
I don't have to raise my hand or
You
anything? Oh, okay. I should have known that. I, Christopher J. Pelletieri,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of superintendent
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of superintendent
of the Sachem Central School District
of the Sachem Central School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
At this time, I'll hand the meeting over to Allison Florio, our district clerk.
Okay, at this time, we need to nominate a temporary chairperson. Alex, did you want to take it over, or Mike? I'm sorry, I saw Mike. I saw you raise your hand. Okay, sure.
Sure. At this time, we will take nominations for President of the Board of Education. Mr. Isonia? Are there any other nominations? Second, any other nominations? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
I have not been on the board long enough to work with everybody, so is it appropriate for me to vote in this capacity since I've been on the board for such a long, short time? I really haven't worked with anybody to this extent. In good faith, I would vote yes, but is it a responsible vote like I did with Dr. Pelletieri because I was so new? Like, is this something I should be doing next year?
I'll ask Chris Vanator to respond, please.
I think it's up to your comfort level. Even though you haven't served for a long time with the board, you've had an opportunity to see them at various, points in time during the year or prior years. So it's really up to your comfort level. If you don't feel entirely comfortable, it's within your right to abstain. If you do feel a degree of comfort, you certainly can vote on it. So it's really up to your comfort level and how you feel. Nothing precludes you from voting, and it wouldn't be improper for you to vote.
It's more just, I came into this like ground running and really haven't even been trained yet. So, is it responsible of me to vote on something of great importance?
Stephanie, I'll say that we vote on personnel, we vote on contracts, we vote on everything. You voted on these things before. I would say that this is just another step in that. If you want to abstain, please do so. If you want to vote no, but let's, I think that we can't pick and choose what we want to say that we're responsible for voting for. We have to just vote or abstain.
Not the question. The question was if it's appropriate.
Yeah.
It is, it's how it works. Like each one of us, our first day, we voted. You actually have more experience on the board than the rest of us did the first day we ever voted.
Okay. Abstain, one abstention. I'm going to switch seats with Rob. Congratulations, Rob. Please be sworn in.
I, Rob Scabba, do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of President
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of President
of the Sachem Board of Education
of the Sachem Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Rob, the meeting is yours.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. I look forward to working with everybody and moving the district in the right direction. So at this particular point in time, I'm going to ask for nominations for Vice President. If you just raise your hand and I will select nominations in order. I need a nomination for Vice President of the Board of Education, Alex Picarello,
I am proud to nominate Sabrina Pickowitz.
Sabrina Pickowitz. Okay, any other nominations of the board? Meredith?
I'd like to nominate myself. I believe the 3 years experience that I have and the fact that I've been able to work well with others, I would be a good candidate, a good fit.
Absolutely. Okay, any other nominations, Stephanie?
I'd like to nominate Meredith.
Okay. Okay, so we have nomination for Meredith, nomination for Sabrina. Any other nominations? Okay. At this particular time, we'll vote on the vice president. First nomination was Sabrina Pickowitz. Just keep your hands up so we can call your names out. All in favor? Okay, so we have Mike Isernia, myself, Sabrina, Alex, Matthew, Vinny, and Stephanie. Opposed? Abstentions? Abstention? Okay. So motion is moved. Congratulations, Sabrina. Go get it.
Oh, please.
I, Sabrina Pickowitz,
I, Sabrina Pickowitz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Vice President
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Vice President
of the Sachem Board of Education
of the Sachem Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Brings us to item E, school purchasing technician. Any motion, please? Mike Isernia, second. Alex Picarillo, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item F is coordinator for community use of facilities. Okay, I need a motion. All right, Mike Isernia, second. Matt Bauman, questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item G, Office of Civil Rights Officers for the 2022-23 school year. Several people. I need a motion. All right, Alex, second. Meredith. Okay, questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item H, Medicaid Fraud Compliance Officers. Any motion, please? Mike Cernia, second. Alex Picarillo. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, brings us to the HERA Compliance Officer. Any motion, please? Right, Alex Picarillo, second. Meredith Volpe. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item J is the Title 7 and Title 9 Compliance Officers. Any motion, please? Okay, Sabrina Pickowitz, second by Alex Picarillo. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item K is Financial Advisory Services. Any motion, please? Mike Cernia, second. Meredith Volpe. Right, questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, brings us to item 4, appointment of officers. So this is a, once again, individual items. Item A, 4A, is the appointment of the district clerk of the Board of Education. Okay, any motion, please?
Motion.
All right, Mr. Was it Alex Picarillo? Second by Sabrina. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Congratulations, Alex. I got to read you.
We missed one on the agenda.
Oh, did I?
It's not labeled. D. Chapter no go. You have the E, but D, because
Let me
the
see.
agenda's not labeled. It goes to C.
Oh, it's missing. All right, so we can go back to that. We'll go back and do that one. Thank you, Vinny.
Probably got cut off on the top of that.
I, Alice Floria,
I, Alice Gloria,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of district clerk
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of district clerk
of the Sachem Board of Education
of the Sachem Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Catherine, did you think you were getting away with not,
Sorry, Catherine. It kind of blends right into C. So item D is the recommendation of superintendent of schools to approve the following resolution. Catherine Noko to be the purchasing agent. Any motion, please? All right, Mike Cerny, second by Meredith Volpe. Questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Congratulations, Catherine. All right. So are we on
4B.
district? Okay. 4B, District Treasurer. Any motion, please? House Picarello, second by Mr. Isernia. Questions or concerns? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Do you want me to swear them in separately, the treasurer and deputy treasurer? Or-
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
Are they here tonight?
Yeah.
We could do it tonight. Yeah, come on up. I, Cynthia Caravel,
I, Cynthia Carvajal,
I do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I support the Constitution of the United States of America
to support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York.
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Office of Treasurer
of Office of Treasurer
of the Sachem Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
of the Sachem Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you.
Brings us to item 4C, Deputy Treasurer. I need a motion, please. Ms. Isernia, second. Mr. Baumann, questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
I, Laura Sager,
I, Laura Sager,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Deputy Treasurer
of Deputy Treasurer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Okay, section 5 is other appointments. We have a consent agenda, A through T. Okay, it'll bring us to, well, actually, the pages aren't numbered, but I need a motion. Ms. Isernia, second. All right. Ms. Picarillo, any questions or concerns? And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, so it brings us to item 6, but for the reason, there's no page numbers tonight, so. Item 6 is authorizations, consent agenda A through D. Okay, I need a motion, please. All right, Ms. Isernia, second. Ms. Pickowitz, questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, item 7 is consent agenda A through B, which is official newspapers, as well as bank depositories. Any motion, please? Okay, Ms. Picarillo, second by Mr. Reynolds. Questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And 8, bonding of personnel. Okay. I'm assuming that this is a consent agenda. Is this 8?
Just the one item.
It's just the one item? Okay. Bonding of personnel. Any motion, please? All right, Vinnie Reynolds, second. Mr. Bowen. Okay, any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 9 is policy and committees. We have a consent agenda, A through P. I need a motion, please. All right, Mr. Pickowitz, second. Ms. Isernia. All right, questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now, this was committees. Let me just double check. I'll go, Okay, so it brings us to item 10, okay, which is the regular meeting. That concludes the reorganizational agenda. We're going to move into the regular meeting. We'll start with the We Are Sachem, Pride and Presentations, and Superintendent's Report. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scavo, and congratulations on being named president. Look forward to working with you and everyone, and Sabrina, you as well as vice president. Thank you. A couple things on my my superintendent's report. One, I want to bring just a little notice to our audience tonight. Michelle Sparakis is here. She's going to be, as you know, our new business official. There's her little seat. Her seat is right there between Patty and Erin. We have it ready for you. We even have a bottle of water there for you. So when you're ready to partake, I know you're still there, so we're trying to get you here, though, as fast as possible. That will begin July 25th, correct? Okay, thank you so much. And I think you have some youngsters in attendance with you. Do you have your kids with you as well? Let's embarrass them. Go ahead. What are their names? Welcome, ladies. Welcome to the Sachem family. Congratulations. I wanted to also tonight give you a little security update as to our schools and county, really. County-wide, there's been a real push around school security. And a lot of this work is coming out of our district attorney office, actually. And our former friend and colleague who used to sit here with us, Chris Clayton from Ingram and Smith, who now works in the DA's office, the chief of staff, is doing a lot of this work, and invited States of Schools to be part of a program that is working with the Suffolk County PD, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, and the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department, in which we are working together to formalize plans, to meet, to discuss, to train, to bring forces to bear to try and support one another. I'm not going to get into specific detail about what it is that they're doing beyond some particular items insofar as when there are threats. There are now people in the DA's office, the assistant district attorneys assigned to deal with school threats and the like. They're taking it very seriously. Unfortunately, 2 incidents on Long Island have already resulted in some actions by that group there. And this is a group that's met twice already. We'll continue to meet. I look forward to continuing our partnership with them and working with them and providing as safe a school as we can for our students, our families, and our staff. So I'll continue to update the board as we get more information on that, but wanted you to know that this is going full swing and something that states are very proud of and certainly happy to be a part of. We have a myriad of summer programs going on right now. I was going to ask Ms. Hines, if you don't mind, to just jump in for a little bit, talk about some of we have enrichment programs, we have Regents programs, we have credit recovery programs. I'm not going to do, my former superintendent used to do that to me all the time. But you know the specific details. I'm just talking globally. So Ms. Hines, do you mind?
I'm not going to do a whole paragraph
No,
on
no,
each
no,
one,
no.
but I'm proud to say as of July 5th, our K-8 programs opened up. That's our enrichment programs, which include review for ELA and math, and then some summer enrichment programs. We do that through scope because organizationally, we are a very large school district. We always start with our own staff first, and we are full. Very excited about that. We're at Nokomis, Hiawatha, and then over at East, as well as our SESI program also opened. That's at Chippewa. And then we're also starting a new drama program, which is set to start in a couple of weeks. We're very excited about that. That will be happening at East. And then next week, the week of the 11th, we're starting our credit recovery program. This was not an open program. This was where we started with students who unfortunately had course failures or were in danger of course failures. And then following the Regents assessments and final grades, again, a second wave of invitations for pre-scheduled students will be going out and or are going out right now through our guidance counselors. So we feel very fortunate. We have a lot of support, a lot of help, a lot of enrichment. Sable Public Library is also offering us a lot of support in their programs as well, and as well as our instructional software that we send home with our students. So have fun, everyone, over the summer.
Thank you very much. And there's some specific Regents information I want to pass along as well, and I might rely on you also. But Erin, just in total, what kind of numbers are we talking about, kids attending all of these programs?
I'd have to look at the total numbers because we just added a whole bunch more. But at like the K-8 level, we're about 500, 550. And then at the high school level, again, we're just going through it now. But the last time that I looked, it was about 150, 160 students.
Thank you very much.
And I forgot to say that we're also going to be running our Regents Review course. So those are for the students that don't necessarily need seat time. They just need a little bit more review before retaking any of those Regents assessments in August again.
So I'm going to jump in on that if you don't mind. This past year, the state did reinstitute our Regents tests across the board. As you know, last year and the year was optional, and the year prior we didn't have them at all. So that was a little bit of a learning curve for our kids, our staff, our students get back into the swing of that. One of the things the state did to kind of soften that blow was to lower the number for credit from 65 is passing to 50 and above would get credit for those courses on the Regents. We also decided, out of an abundance of caution, really concerned for our kids in terms of social, emotional well-being and mental health, we're concerned about kind of coming down on students. And a lot of districts did this, where we decided to lower the impact of any potential failure of a Regents or final, in that we lowered the numbers to, we would do 5% of a student's grade for their Regents or final, only if it helped the students. So this was called a no harm policy, and we talked about this several times during the year. It seems to me that those two things, lowering that score to 50 and then the no harm policy, really impacted a great many of our students and community members to the extent that we did not get anywhere near really the results we often get on our Regents tests in terms of what we used to call passing rate. So I'll just kind of explain that. This past year, 95% of our 820 students, 858 students, 95% got the 50 or higher credit. Wonderful, 95%, very high number. But in our old number of 65, it was at 82%. If we look past years, in 18, 19, the last time we had a full cohort go through, we had a passing percentage of 89%. So we certainly saw a depression in our Regents results. And I think, again, there were two reasons there. The state lowering that number to 50, and again, our no harm policy. And we will revisit that no harm policy ourselves. The state, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is still instituting the 50 and above credit next year as well. But we need to look closely and discuss our no harm policy in regards to that. I did get an earful from some of our folks around kids really feeling that I don't need to work hard here at the end of this year for my final or my Regents because, look, 50 I pass or it doesn't negatively harm me. I already know I calculated my grade. The kids are smart. They figured out if I get a 28 on my Regents, I'm still going to pass the class. And so I think there was some harm in that. And so I have a list of this information. I'll share it with the board in terms of, again, passing results. Algebra 2, 93%, wonderful, got the 50 or higher, but only 83% got the 65. And in the past, it was 91%. So 5-6% around there, 7% of an impact, but our 50% and higher, which they get credit for, is fantastic. One of the things Ms. Hines did, Ms. Trombetta, our principals, our guidance folks, was call parents and say, we saw your child got a lower score than usual or got a 55 or a 52. Or this could impact a child's transcript in terms of sending us out to colleges and for careers. So we are giving students a chance to retake the Regents in August. They can certainly do that. And to that end, we're putting together courses, review courses for those students. Ms. Hines, I have that list here. We have U.S. history. Well, U.S. history, no, we don't. I'm crossing that one out. Algebra, geometry, global, 9 and 10, living environment, earth science, Spanish, and ELA. Those are the courses that we'll be offering Regents review for. We're going to contact parents and families, reach out, see who wants to take those courses. Not courses, review courses, right? It's, I think, 6 days in total.
We're doing 2 weeks prior to the August administration.
Okay. And the
There'll be
August,
3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we believe we already have most of the staff that we need already. So it's just a matter of finalizing those numbers and the students, and then all communication will go out.
so incredible effort out of Ms. Hines, Ms. Trombetta's office, Ms. Letisa Graham as well, the high schools, the guidance council who made hundreds of phone calls to parents to make sure that they got them up to date and let them know what was going on with their youngsters and making sure we got the right, and even this, I know it was a tough year. And so a lot of people went home thinking they're done for the summer. And then now here we came knocking again saying, can you help our kids out again? A lot of them rallied to that cause. So credit where credit's due.
Some questions, Vinny?
So what happens if the student does worse than they did the first time on the Regents in the August?
Yeah,
What are we doing with that?
we would have the higher of the scores go on the transcript. I asked, we were going to check with the state, right, Ms. Hines, about what we might put on the transcript?
We emailed, because I'm not sure if everybody remembers, a few years back, school districts had a little bit more autonomy in terms of what they could put on the transcript. So now if you have the 50 and higher, you can use that essay or that, special appeal. And we were just interested, as we heard some feedback from some of our parents about, do we still have that same autonomy? So I wrote that on Friday, 4th of July weekend. So as of today, not yet, but I will keep calling and find out. But I feel like we still might have, a little bit of wiggle room. All the grades have to go up to the state no matter what. But what we're able to put on the transcript, we're hoping that we still have some of that autonomy for the students.
Okay, thank you. Because like geometry specifically,
Yeah,
we
very
saw, the word around town is that was a killer. I mean, I know students that were, mid 90s, high 90s that didn't do so well on that test. And the question is, were they prepared the right way? Were there questions that they didn't get covered in class? So
I'm going to tell you flat out, as a dad whose daughter took that test and is now walking around, moping because she did really nicely all year, we're kind of close to trying to get her to take it again in August. We'll see. She worked really hard all year, as did a lot of our kids, and that was not, I don't see our teachers in that, and I don't see that in teachers across the state either, or other districts. That was a tough test. It was a tough scale, and that happened all over the place. That is not unique to Sachem. That geometry hammered our kids.
Let's go to Alex, and then we're going to come back to Stephanie.
Is there a cost involved for the parents and the families to attend the review classes? And then how are we paying for those classes? Are we using the American Cares funds? What are we using?
Yep. So it's no cost to any of our families at this time, and we are using our pandemic funds.
Okay. Can we get a number maybe sent to us, obviously, but what we have left in that? And then when we have to use it by? How much money do we
In
have
terms
left
of
from
all of
that?
the grant funds?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm sure we can all work together as a
Okay.
cabinet and share that with you.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I know. Yeah. Thank you.
Stephanie?
Is this invite only? Or can parents?
For the
ask
Regents
for
review?
Yeah. Are they
we-
getting invited by because I do have parents asking me about this and
So our
Oh.
priority would be those students who need that Regents, towards graduation, they're a junior,
okay.
what have you. But because throughout the school year, typically starting around February, March, we also have a Regents review again for those classes that, anybody would be taking in June as well.
Okay, and I wasn't going to ask this but you brought something up. There's issues with flax for 8th graders for
Okay.
Spanish. Do you know what's happening with the transcripts with that? Because there was a couple. Can you find out if that
But I
has
can
anything
find
to do
out,
with the-
or we can talk after and you can let me know what it is.
Okay, it's not just my own son, but it is
Sure.
my own son, but don't tell anybody. But there are other parents that were asking me because they know it impacted my own kid. And I'm like, I don't, so.
Okay, yeah, so maybe we can
I'll be
chat
honest,
afterwards.
haven't-
Yeah.
We'll talk.
She
after.
kind of brought it up, but not the flax part.
Well,
So
whatever it
I
is,
got the
we
brain
can certainly
going
look into
about
it.
the transcript. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Alex?
I just want to piggyback on something that Stephanie asked. Is there a way that we can make this uncapped, not a maximum number? Anybody who wants to be in this review class, anybody who wants to take this
I don't
test?
think we're going to have a hard time with it being capped. So we never
Well, I
turn
mean,
away anybody.
if we first open it to any kid that got under a 50, and then there are kids that got over a 50 but want to get over a 65 or just get higher for their
Yeah.
transcript, we're not going to say no to anybody. That's what I'm
No,
asking.
we won't say no to
Okay.
anybody. And quite frankly, we always, have room. I don't see hundreds and hundreds of kids coming, but I've already had a few parents call. And of course, we try and accommodate everybody that we can. But priority is the ones that we definitely know just failed and
Rob,
we want to get them in there.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as the flax though, that's on a Regents assessment. So typically it is. Yeah. So we can look into it for you.
I'll just offer that at some point you get the diminishing returns if we make the classes too big, obviously, in the summer. So if we do get higher numbers, we'll look at another section and look at trying to bring in another staff
I would just
member.
hate to say no to anybody, that's all.
Yeah.
Especially if we have the funds available to make it bigger.
And that's a great point, and I want to hammer that home again, that those funds, the enrichment, the region, all these things are happening now because of those federal grants, and those federal grants end in 24, 25. Is that right, Michelle? See?
Let her come sit up here. It's just easier.
I knew she knew those answers already.
I will say proactively though, we started making a list of the things that we would have to really relook at, see what, repurpose or the things that we could take out of the general fund.
I just want to
because
make sure
like
that we
what's
spend every
happening.
penny and we don't give anything
Oh,
back
we're
to
spending
them.
every penny.
Okay.
Don't worry, on great stuff.
Any
What-
other
What
question?
year did you say again? 2023? Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Matthew?
I'm glad they lowered the number to 50. I wish they had lowered the special ed to like 30, 40.
And, that was a really hard number for us this year. We didn't say it before, but Mr. McElhern also sat with Patty and I and all the guidance counselors and everything else to go through that. And, see those students who really worked hard, who, especially if they were taking the geometry or anything along those lines, it was tough. So yes, that's our advocacy part, right? Is really making sure that we're looking at all the individual students and their needs around Regents.
Okay. Meredith?
So Matt brought up a great point with our special ed population, and I think, it's maybe not appropriate at this very moment, but I think as a board, we really need to start advocating against Regents. I personally don't feel like it's helping any of our students. I don't think mentally, emotionally, academically, I don't think it's helping any of them. And I think that as a board, we really need to start advocating for these children because the Regents are completely unfair to every child.
I totally agree, and I'm sorry, I raised my hand, but you were looking at her, so I didn't. But I did raise my hand. I totally agree, and I think the fact that it's been canceled and not used for some, and now it's being reinstated is just ridiculous, especially for the special ed population, because, our kids, and I'm saying ours, even though mine graduated, but our kids, they struggle. So you're giving reprieve to some, and then some have to work doubly hard. It's not. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback and say that this is what we talked about in our letter, we talked about in our address, and I spoke about insofar as all state assessment needs to be reviewed at this time. Since we didn't have it for a couple of years, now is the time to do it, not just go back to the old.
And I'd just like to respectfully say, we do a lot as a board, and we've gotten a lot of great things accomplished. But very often, we all raise our hand, myself included, to write a letter. And that's great and wonderful, but writing a letter is, in my opinion, not doing anything anymore. It gets filed in the trash. I like, we have so many committees, and hopefully we'll be speaking about
I'm
them.
with you, Mayor. One of the things that I talked to a few of you guys about was the legislative committee, let's put
Right.
that on their list to lobby, to really put some feet on the ground to do this. So that's
Right.
something, maybe if we're talking committees, that could be at the top of the list among some other things, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you.
Just, I have one question about the exams. How are we going to get this out to the community that it's available? I mean, we probably have very few people that are listening to our meeting tonight. Are we going to put it on our main screen of our website, Station Online?
Do you mean just
About-
open or
about-
those
about-
who need it?
About opening it up to every kid that wants to take it.
Yeah, so right now, all of our guidance counselors over the past 2 weeks, and actually since, looking through anyone who needed summer support, they've been contacted. And then also a district letter is going to go out for any of those students who are late to registration because of the failures of the courses and/or Regents. And then another letter will go out for the Regents review as well. We can also, just alert overall to our secondary families that anyone looking to retake a Regents, the only thing is we have to order those assessments. So even our administration at the building level.
We'd have to
been
have a
looking.
cutoff, I'm sure. a
Yeah,
cutoff date.
absolutely.
But the thing is, like I said, to get it out there so people don't say, well, I didn't know about this.
Mhm.
How are we informed? If we could do it something electronically, or if we could do something,
We're going to send out the letter twice, and then we'll also post it.
Now, the other thing too is the other question I have is, you mentioned multiple Regents. Are we going to stagger them so that if a child needs more than one review class, that they don't have to pick and choose between one and another?
Sure, yeah, just like what we do with our credit recovery, we have like an A and B course so that students can go back and forth. And if there's any conflicts, we always look to rearrange, see what we have to do for our students. It's more hand scheduling in the summertime because it's not as many students.
Great. Meredith?
So part of what Rob was saying about how are we being notified is very important. I did get a phone call from my son's guidance counselor that he unfortunately didn't pass the geometry. But I wasn't told about the review. But not to throw him under the bus, I wasn't paying full attention to the phone call because I had 3 things going on at the same time. So he may have told me about it. But I'm sure there's plenty of parents out there like me who took that phone call in the middle of the day, not realizing what it was and didn't pay full attention. So getting it out there. The other thing is I don't know much about, Regents and all that, but do we have any say on input of days and times? Because my son had to take 2 Regents in one day, which I honestly thought was brutal.
Unfortunately,
It's summertime,
yeah.
they can't concentrate, it's hot, and now you have downtime because you're giving one at 8 a.m. and the next one at noon. I just thought that was a little brutal for
Yeah,
everybody.
those assessments are actually usually created by the state. They give it out at the BOCES level for, districts to give some sort of statement on. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't, but that's generally crafted by the state almost a year in advance, sometimes a half year, depending on if it's August Regents. But again, that could be great advocacy of
Right. We should
looking
start
at
now.
it. We always have, like, notoriously very hard Regents the last day of school while people are trying to score and then run on to the graduation scene too. So
The question is, you mentioned the guidance counselors calling out, we're not going to run this probably for another couple of weeks. leading
That's
up to-
correct. It's mid-August.
So the thing is, do we have guidance counselors in the buildings working in the summertime to make these calls right before the?
yeah, right now, a majority of our counselors are there right now, and then there's a smattering of them. But, again, our letter will go directly to those students that we know need to take the Regents. So that goes through our school messenger, through all of our data files of the students and their student IDs. And then we'll send out a general one for anyone else who just is, interested in either the review or taking the test. We are trying to keep it, though, to just our Sachem residents. I know sometimes other schools, welcome other folks in, but we feel like since it's our first time back to taking the Regents, we just felt it was more comfortable for us to just do it for Sachem this year.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest concern is getting the word out, whether it's a robocall, whether it's a website,
I was going to say robocall.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't know. Do we go back
yeah.
to them?
We could.
It
Yeah, we
used to be
could.
the capital of robocalling, remember?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now.
I
do
remember
we do that again?
Again, diminishing returns, right? That's twice. At some point, when you robocall the heck out of people, they shut you off. And so we have to be just thoughtful about that. And yes, but this is something certainly worth the time to do, and we'll send it out via email, robocall, website.
If you start with free Regents review, I can tell you, you will get some
Use free at the
takers.
start.
Yeah, because I spend a lot on a tutor, so.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one last thing I need to mention. Was there another question? I'm sorry.
Nope.
Leticia Graham, who is our Director of Guidance, is going to be leaving Sachem Schools and the Sachem family. She took a position in another district. She'll be working a lot more closely with students, and I think that is really where her heart is and where she wants to be. And so, Leticia, I know you're out there, I'm sure, watching right now, but if not, thank you so much for your years of service to the district, to our school community, to our Sachem family. You will be missed, and we look forward to seeing you, over these last few weeks. You'll be with us till the beginning of August.
Great.
And we'll be looking for, obviously, crafting a posting and putting out for a position.
Okay. That brings us to item 12, approval of minutes. The approval of minutes from June 14th, 15th, and 23rd. Any motion, please? Okay, Stephanie, second. Sabrina, any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. That brings us to visitors. Normally, we do, agenda items first and then non-agenda items after. Well, we have one visitor, so instead of having this person wait around for another hour, I'm going to bring him up now. Mr. Himes, come on up.
Okay, quick introduction. So my name is Kevin Himes, Hyms, not to be confused with the young lady in back of me. And I'm Sachem class of 1973. So proud to be in the community all these years and to help out the Sachem School District in any way possible. So I am here today to congratulate the new members of the Sachem Board of Education, and also to wish and give my prayers to the superintendent and the Board of Education for a very healthy, successful, and productive school year ahead. Also, as the president of the Ronkonkoma Chamber of Commerce, we would love to get more involved with the Sachem School District and help each other out in any way possible. I feel community involvement means a lot to the people here, and we look forward to a great summer. We're planning the Ronkonkoma Chamber's Ronkonkoma Street Fair Sunday, September 4th, and we'd like input and involvement with the Sachem community as well. So that street fair is September 4th on Hawkins Avenue. In regard to the New York State policies and regulations, my assemblyman, Doug Smith, is very active. He's the ranker on New York State education. And my son, Sean, another Sachem graduate, he is his district director and legislative director. So please feel free to contact their office on any state issues, and they would be glad to help as well.
Doug is our assemblyman, not yours.
He's everyone's assemblyman. No, he's doing a great job. We're very proud of him. And my son Sean is his backup over there, and we're all very happy to help. So again, thank you, and I wish everyone a good year ahead.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Okay, we have business items. We have a consent agenda A through F. Okay, I need a motion, please. Okay, Ms. Baumann, second by Mr. Reynolds. Questions or concerns? Okay, Stephanie?
The disposal of district property, and it says that there's books. Is there any way to donate or recycle them for less fortunate? Is that allowed?
There are opportunities to do that on occasion, so we look through that, and I will, we'll certainly make sure that we double up on this and see that we're doing what we can with those.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, brings us to item 15, action items. CTE reapproval application. Any motion, please? Okay, Ms. Isernia, second. Ms. Picarillo, any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 16 brings us to personnel, consent agenda A through O. Okay, any motion, please? Ms. Isernia, second. Mr. Baumann, questions or concerns?
I just have a quick question on letter G.
Ms. Picarillo?
And I'm sorry to put the administration on the spot here about letter G, but a lot of these coaches, you see OOD, which is out of district. We have so many people in-house, and this is just a personal gripe, so I apologize, but we have so many people in-house that apply for full-time jobs here that don't seem to be getting this opportunity to work here. And then they leave, and they seem to be getting jobs at CI and West Islip and other places, full-time jobs where they're coaching. And we have a turnover rate of these people because we're not keeping them here. We let them sub, their leave replacements, their TAs, and then they walk out the door. And then we approve teachers, and then we accept resignations from people. And I just would love to see, especially these guys who are here for 3-4 years, and they don't leave at 2 o'clock. They're not trying to beat the buses out. They're here till the sun goes down every day. I'd love to see more people in-house being given the opportunity. Yes, we approve tenure. So if it's not working out, we can make that correction. But I would rather give the opportunity to the people in-house first, so that we don't continue to approve all of these out-of-district coaches, and we have all these people in-house. I just don't understand why. Like, they're good enough to sub, they're good enough to TA, they're good enough to leave replacement, but then we don't give them opportunities when these positions open.
You're talking about full-time teaching opportunities, not coaching positions,
Correct. These
obviously.
people that are working for us all year. I don't know. Either that, or maybe we need to have conversations with people of, this is why you're not.
So-
And there are people, and I won't list names because I know we can't talk
Yeah.
about personnel, but they're not spoken, like, they don't ever have conversations with anybody. Or they're saying that nobody ever talks to them about, they feel like they're up for a job and they could get this one, and then they get stuck back down in whatever job they're in. And
Yeah.
they're just frustrated because they feel like they give back so much to the district, and then the district is not giving them an opportunity. And then we hire somebody who doesn't coach, doesn't get involved in music, doesn't get involved in arts, and leaves at 1:45 and 2 o'clock. And they don't understand why we're not being loyal. They're being so loyal, but they don't feel that loyalty back sometimes. And again, we control tenure. I mean, since we're not going to hand it out like candy anymore, we should at least give them the opportunity.
So certainly we want us to be, the most important thing I think I do and we do is hire people and grant tenure at some point, without a doubt, hiring only the best people, right? Someone was telling me today, this person is a fine person. I was like, fine is great for somewhere else. We want great employees here. So we do have a rigorous program in terms of trying to get people in, and screening process and interviews, and having people do, even in the summer, sometimes we have people come in, we get kids together in a summer school setting, and we have people do, what's the word I'm looking for? Demos. That's right. Thank you. So obviously very important to us. everyone that is one of ours, let's just say, in terms of your example, in terms of coaches, and then that gets passed over, if they don't get a position, everyone deserves a conversation from us. And so that's something that I've talked with our people as well, insofar as making sure that we reach back to those folks who might not have gotten a position, who's someone who's in-house and felt that they were up for it. And we have to have an honest conversation with them as to what took place and why this other candidate might have been chosen. But I mean, that I think
I
we
just
should be
think it'll
doing
go a
all the
long way in
time.
morale and schools,
Yep.
just a
I
better
understand what
working
you're
environment.
saying. I understand what you're saying. It's often a way in coaching. It's not the
And not
only
just
way.
coaching, but anything
Mhm.
extracurricular. I hate when we hire people and they're beating the buses. You watch
Well,
at
we
1:45, 2:00, and there's a mad
That's
dash to the
disappointing to
doors.
hear. Yeah, we should not have people beating the buses for sure.
Vinny?
So great point. Eric. So the question really maybe drives towards the process that we're nurturing our people, right? It's great that we're hiring the best, but how do you have the conversations as to what is it that you want to do? Because it sounds like nobody's coming to them. We need to make them comfortable to have the conversations two-way, right? So we know what their interests are, where their skill sets are, to your point, so we can start bringing our own people, right? So
Without
maybe
it,
it's sort of the process that we have to look at, right?
yeah, and I've spoken with our folks about that back end of that process in terms of reaching back out to people and making sure that we have those conversations. I did just do that recently, however, because this was just brought to me as something that was kind of a morale concern with staff. I said that we have to have honest conversations. If we tell people, hey, you're great, you're great, you're great, and then we do an interview or have a demo or something, and we necessarily don't feel that way, they need to know that and know why, and we can give them tips on how to improve for the next time.
It's hiring the best, but it's also retaining them, right? And
Yeah.
There's two parts to that.
You know,
right?
without a doubt, without a doubt.
Any other questions or concerns regarding that item? Okay, so we have that was number 16. We have a motion and a second. Right? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sure.
There was the curriculum rating on there. Is that going well? Because, we have a lot of curriculum writing because the 9-period day, our teachers finding that they need more time to write is you just kind of seeing how it's going. That's it.
Yeah, sure. We actually are reapproving quite a bit of teachers. I think the last board meeting that we had. So this is sort of like our second go around. So some additional 10 hours. I think we had talked about earlier in the year that we do it in 10-hour increments so that we can make like a gap stop to just review how's it going, how much more time, resources. And then that will continue throughout the rest of the summer. And so by the end of the summer, prior to the beginning of the school year, we should be able to give you more of a report. But yes, everything's going well.
Just wanted to stop for a moment and acknowledge one of our new probationary hires. We have Emily Torrey joining us today. If you could just stand and let the board acknowledge you. Congratulations and welcome to the Sachem family.
And I'm sure you're terrific. This had nothing to do with you.
Do you coach, by the way? No. Okay, so that passed. Item 17 is personnel support staff. We have consent agenda A through H. A motion, please. Okay, Ms. Baumann, second by Mr. Reynolds. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, item 18, personnel administrators. Okay, we have one resignation, sad one. I need a motion, please. Okay, Ms. Picarillo, second by Mr. Reynolds. Questions or concerns? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
I have a question not about her,
Okay.
about the position.
Process.
So one of the reasons, as you stated, that she's leaving is because she doesn't have as much interaction with children. When we are now going to be looking for someone, are we going to do anything with this position so that it's less of a paper pusher and more of somebody like that would have been involved with kids more?
I'm not going to say that this position is going to, in the future, involve more with kids. This is a administrative position where we supervise the guidance program overall and work with staff and talk about all those pieces that go into running a guidance program. Meredith, the happiest I am is in my life, like has been my family, right? And teaching and being in that classroom with kids. And so this past year I did 15 faculty conferences with Patty and Erin, and I had the best time as we talked about the vision of the district. I got to teach again for the first time in a long time. And man, I realized how much I miss it. But I need to be here to do this for everyone in this family. And so I sacrificed that piece. And I think Leticia was just like, you know what, I did this, I want to go back and do that. And there may come a time where I say, I'm going to go back and teach at college or something like that. I actually used to for a little while. I gave that up to do this because that's how important I think that time is. But each person needs to make that decision themselves. Sure, there's opportunities on occasion where we go to things, we go to graduations, of course, and things like that. But yeah, I miss interacting. That's why I'm lucky that I get to bust the kids' chops sometimes when I have them up here, because it's one shot I have it kind of interacting with kids. But it's tough. But I can't promise anyone coming to that position that there will be more contact with kids as a result of this.
Okay, I'm just wondering because she wasn't here very long, so
Yeah.
like.
She took a job as a guidance / AP, so she's going to have direct contact with kids. But with Dr. Pellettieri was saying, it's not uncommon for somebody to leave, become a director. The director, we had it recently, director of special ed, realize that there's no face contact with students and really miss it, and go back to a principalship because they're just happier in that setting. So it happens quite a bit, believe it, more so than not. But we are going to miss her, and I'm sure that hopefully we'll find somebody as strong and talented as she was. So, okay. Item 19 is a consent agenda for contracts A through W. Any motion, please? Mr. Reynolds, all right, second. Okay, Ms. Volpe, Stephanie Volpe. Any questions or concerns? All right. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 20 is a consent agenda, A through B. It's donations from Winona and Merrimack Elementary School PTAs. Any motion, please? Hi, Ms. Pickwood, second by Ms. Picarillo. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. If we can get a letter out to them, thanking them for their donations, that'd be great. Thank you. Item 21 is Committee on Special Education. We have a consent agenda, A and B. Okay, any motion, please? Mr. Baumann, second by Mr. Picarillo. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 2, monthly reports of our committees. I know this was something that there's probably not really many reports because we haven't had a committee meeting in a while, but something that we want to get going right away. I know, Ms. Iserni spent some time redoing the whole committee application that I think we all kind of saw and thought, we were very happy with the outcome of it. The question is when can we get that out so we can start attracting people to start joining committees and getting them going right away? I think that's sort of where the discussion.
We have that on, right?
Oh, we do?
discussion.
Okay.
We do have it
On as a
for
discussion?
discussion.
Okay, all right, so we can wait for that then, at that point. Are there any reports, any feedback from the board on any of these committees? Okay. What's that?
The committees, like with us, the committees where we
Okay.
Yeah, that should be part of this.
That's
Part of that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, item 23 is closing. All right, public comment. Allison, any other? Okay. Board discussion items. I'll open up to the board for future discussion items. Meredith?
So I'm going to read something that was written by one of Sachem North's teachers, Mrs. Hanson, and I got her permission to read it. And after I read it, I'm going to tell you why. I think every child needs to hear this. And when I found it in my son's backpack, first I made sure that he actually read it because it was that important. And then I reached out to her and asked her permission to share it with everyone. She wrote it to her seniors. She teaches English at Sachem North, which teaching Shakespeare to a bunch of high school kids is probably one of the hardest jobs out there. Well, we are finally here, the final days of school. It's been quite the year. Many of us recognize that this year was harder than last. Although the visible signs of the pandemic have slowed, faded, the scar tissue that was left behind has taken longer to subside and may never completely leave us. A typical senior year is emotionally complex enough. Each of you on a different path, carrying your unique baggage with you as you listen to all the voices offering instructions, suggestions, and distractions. Typically, senior year feels a lot like waiting at Penn Station for the train to Ronkonkoma to come in. Everyone crowding each other to create their own space. And once that track is announced, it's a mad dash down the stairs to find a seat. Some are polite to others on the way. Some are so frantic to get there that they forget their manners. There are people who innately knew which track and are ahead of the pack, while others looked away from the board for only a second and found themselves at the back. Once on the train, people scramble to get seats. They try to anticipate the best seat for their eventual exit from the train. Groups trying to find seats together. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Some people continually relocate as better options become available. Some watch and listen to other riders because they aren't sure if they're in the right place. Some people stand the whole ride. Regardless if they transfer at Jamaica or ride it all the way to Ronkonkoma, all the passengers eventually get to their destinations. If you've never experienced this trip before, I guarantee you were on one just like it this year. And you will eventually get to where you need to be. And despite being with you all year long, I can't begin to fathom how you manage to navigate through it while the world continues to be at war with itself. I know we all wanted and tried to be the best guides we could. Yet I know we will never look back on this as our best year of teaching. Perhaps it could be our most important year, since it will be the first year on the path to recovery. This year will redefine us as educators. Who we are as teachers, how we teach our courses, and the ways we relate to our students from now on will be shaped by this year. So you will be with us, with me, for the rest of my career. We fought, we laughed, some cried, we ate plenty of lollipops and granola bars. We had fun. We did so. And we learned. And I'm thankful for all of it and all of you. I called you undercooked frequently this year. I said you needed a little more time. The timer has gone off. You are done. But if I could, I'd add just a few more minutes with you. With love, Mrs. Hanson. Now, as the mom of a senior, that really hit me. But as a mom in general, I realize that we as a board, we sit up here, we make all these decisions. They affect the taxpayers, they affect the faculty, the staff, the community, but they affect the children most of all. And we don't always hear from the children. So I'd like to make a motion to start something called Kids First. I think that the beginning of every meeting should be about the kids. We should have children's input. And yes, we do bring the kids up here and we give them accolades, but not every kid gets an accolade. That kid who graduated last at Sachem North probably worked harder just to get to graduation day than the valedictorian did. And that kid didn't get an accolade and probably didn't get an accolade their entire life. So while it's beautiful that we give the athletes and the scholars and the kids that do their research and the kids that win awards, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. We don't always have a voice from every child. There are children that are being left behind. There is that lost child that doesn't have friends. There is that child that's sitting alone. There is that child that's thinking things that they don't understand their own thoughts. And so I think if we do this thing called Kids First, where children can write to us and we can read their thoughts, they can come here and they can sit. It's hard enough being a community member and an adult coming and sitting in those chairs. But being a kid, I just think we don't get their input enough because they're shy, because they're scared. Me personally, in 1999, I was a single mother with a 3-year-old and I was on the verge of homelessness. And in that moment, if you looked at me and you said, you will own a home, you as a high school dropout will be on the Board of Ed twice, and you will have a wonderful career and make a great living, I would have laughed in your face and told you were crazy because I have no utilities and the sheriff is literally at my door evicting me. And so that's a nice pipe dream, but thanks, have a great day. These kids don't see light at the end of the tunnel, and they need to. This pandemic, we're all fatigued from it. It's over. The press can say all they want that the numbers are at 25% again. It's over. These kids need to start getting back to reality, and we need to start hearing from them. When we make these decisions, we need to hear from them. So I'd like to make a motion for something called Kids First, where we have an email address that they can email us specifically, and it's just for them. And then we can read their thoughts at the beginning of every meeting, and they can come here and read their thoughts if they're brave enough themselves.
Meredith, what I don't want to, you have a very good idea. It's a great suggestion, but rather than making a motion, and proving something without it being on an agenda. What I prefer to do is maybe add it as a future discussion item, so we can discuss it, have administration put their heads together, and come back with something and see what we can do to maybe, get close to what your vision is. I'd rather do that than put a motion on the floor just to approve it.
And that's great as long as we do it, but we all know that we do a lot of discussing and we kind of never come back to certain things.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Dr. Pelletieri, and we had this conversation, is to create that list and make sure that it's specific to a date of a meeting so that we know exactly when it's going to appear. But also, more so, I think something that has to happen too is follow-up as old business.
I volunteer to do that
Well,
if you want. a
well,
board
we have-
member to
we have
do
a
it.
clerk
We have a
here, too.
district clerk.
I know, but
and
if
so
you don't want her to have to deal, I'll
No, that's all right.
volunteer. 'cause
we'll work together,
more work.
certainly. We'll work together.
So that we have, once again, something that has old business that we could
Right, yeah.
review and so that it doesn't kind of fall through the net and whatnot.
Can I ask Meredith a question about the kids first thing, or does that mean it has to, we have to discuss it next time?
No. Well, the thing is, I want to take the motion off the floor. If we could
Sure.
take the motion off the floor and we'll add as a future discussion.
So then
But-
I can
but you-
discuss
you-
it
you-
next, but let me
you can
ask
a
you because
question.
I'm going to forget. Didn't we have children appointed on the board at
do.
one
Yeah.
point?
We still
Is
do.
it something like that? Can we expand that?
So I, with all due respect to those children, they're amazing, they're wonderful, but they're always the president of their student body.
Okay. I get what you're going.
Oftentimes, they're a very
Okay.
popular child. They're a very great student. My thought is to really get the voice of the
Every kid,
actual
right.
children, every child.
Yes, okay.
Sabrina and then Vinny?
I know other school districts, they have their high school members on the board. They're the ones who would read those letters from those students. So they would basically be like, we're a representation of the community. Those two students are representation of the student body. So again, we could talk about this in the future of the logistics of it, but it might be where those letters or those information are being reported to those students, unless that student wants to come. I mean, we could talk about if they want to come, but maybe they could be, just some thoughts. I know that watching other school districts board meetings, they have those students report on what's going on in the schools, what they're hearing from students, and have them kind of report that information.
And our kids already do that. I'm thinking something more like, I mean, a couple years ago we had Lou, great kid, great athlete, great student, all around, like every parent's dream of a kid. Maybe the kid who's graduating last in his class wouldn't feel great approaching Lou with his sad story. So, maybe if we had something where they're coming to the adults, the kids can read it with the name off of it, but not every child feels comfortable going to this person who's going to sit for that student seat.
Vinny?
No, great idea, Meredith. Look forward to having the discussion. I just want to make a comment about the action item list, right? So that's something I think that's needed. So what I'm going to do every time we have an issue is when is the due date for that thing? And it doesn't have to be in 2 weeks. If you're telling me it's 6 months that we need, then put 6 months. But we need to revisit these things because a lot of things went sort of, I don't want to say the abyss, but I don't think as a board, we know where some of the things are that we talked about. So very interested in that. And I think we need something like that. And perhaps it's even in the Friday packet where it's a working list, work in progress, things like that, right? With dates that we can be aware of.
This past year in the Friday packet, we started to put in all the discussion items and presentations that were based on feedback from the board in terms of things that they would like to see. Just last meeting, we presented on our end year results in a lot of areas because, again, request of the board and something we should be doing. And so that would go into the Friday packet. We'll have a running list of things and we'll work with Allison around those action items.
Alex? And the other thing too is what I would do even further in that list that Vinny was just talking about is align it to one of our board goals. So we see what goals we're achieving and how we're aligning, the tasks, the goals. I know that's been a practice in years past, and certainly we should maybe redo it again. So any other, I know I skipped over the discussion item. We'll stick with future discussion. Any other future discussion items right now? Alex?
I just want to talk quickly. I know that you, Chris, you said that you guys were going to put a group together about one of the major issues that we have right now is the health and safety. We talk a lot about inside, but there are issues outside as well. Our fields are a mess. Parents have said that their kids don't feel safe on the baseball fields. And I know that I've had this conversation with you, but it needs to be out in the open because it needs to be going much faster. We said we're going to put a group together. I don't know where the group is. How quickly can we get the architect? How quickly can we make sure that when those kids step on a field that we're responsible for, they're safe? And we've got to make sure that we get on that immediately. That we have adults and parents saying, I don't like my kid. I'm afraid of him getting ground balls hit to him because it's going to hit a rock and hit him in the face. Like, how quickly can we do this? And it's not moving fast enough.
Alex, you're talking about a steering committee for the possible, the turf.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just,
I mean,
I
look,
just hate the way how slow everything moves.
my-
That's all.
you know, that's something that we have to put out, to bid, and something that we have to get architectural drawings on and whatnot. It's
Well,
got to
we
go up to Albany for state approval for capital projects. The other thing I say is, fields are never going to be perfect. You're always going to have divots and ruts and things like that. I don't know so much as I would say that they're unsafe, okay, as they need improvement. I mean, you can't compare a grass field to a turf field. Turf field is beautiful. It's like running on, on sod. I had asked with those fields that we look at maybe some type of topographical map to see if the fields are in the right location. Rather than putting $1 million baseball field, where it is now, do we want to look at all of that land that's on one side of east and whether or not the property is laid out? Listen, every project that was done when that school was built was done poorly.
Yeah.
And are we utilizing the property to the best of its ability? My son played baseball, and I'll say it, that field up there is a terrible location. You could make it as beautiful as you want, but the location is the location. It's subject to wind, high winds. It's, fly balls come over the backstop and they hit cars constantly and break windows. So the question is, I agree with you. I mean, I want to put those fields and make them, those playing surfaces great for our kids, but I'd like to see that we're doing it, that if we're going to invest $1.2 million in baseball field, that we're putting it in the right location. And we don't find out after the fact that, oh, maybe we should have put it here, or there. Vinny?
It's an interesting conversation, but I think the price tag is close at $8 million based on the capital improvements.
I'm
of all
talking
the
about
fields.
per field.
Right, per
The
field.
one-
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
this is a huge project,
Yeah.
right? And I think there's a lot of other things, capital improvements and things like that. So it's certainly a worthy conversation. I think we all agreed last year to engage the architect. So we should have that discussion and see what the steps are.
Yeah. So my question is like, how
Yeah, when do we
quickly,
do
like
that?
where,
It sounds like there's a process we have to go through.
similar,
but-
similar to your action,
when?
list, like where are we on that?
Right.
That's what I want to know
If you
about
could
it.
provide the
Again,
board
big
with
ticket item.
an update, and I guess when Michelle comes on, this will be part of her responsibility. is
Yes,
to
I was just
provide the
going to
board
say,
an update as to where we are with capital projects, the bid process, bids that came in.
Mhm.
So
she's
the
been
board-
fully updated by Mr. O'Keefe
Yeah.
in terms of this turf concept and vision and many other capital projects as well. And yes, that is one of the first things we're going to hit the ground running with in terms of the architect, putting a committee together and have them surveying these fields, taking a look at it top to bottom, making sure that we do it for all the schools, the high schools, to make sure that we want to do all the fields, softball, baseball. We want to make sure that we do them right.
So Alex, this summer, you looking for like a presentation maybe from
Well, I'd like the group to get together and then the presentation to happen before.
Yeah, we have to get obviously the group together
It's
first.
just
yeah.
part of the frustration, and it's not Chris's fault, or it's not the cabinet's fault. It's just the pace of everything is. It's just really, I just hate how slow things go sometimes. That's
Yeah.
all.
Meredith?
So I come from the public sector and from the private sector, sorry. And then this whole public thing is very different. And so the pace that things get done to me, like, ooh, we got to form a committee and everybody's got to put their grand poobah hat on. And then they got to decide this. And then we got to send it up to Albany and everybody in Albany puts their grand poobah hat on. And then they decide. So I can agree with Alex that it's, that these things seem to take a long time. Is there anything that we as a district can do to cut through some of this and, make things make a little bit more sense? Because, obviously with politics, it doesn't make sense. And cutting through all of this, going through all of these steps and these processes, to me, wastes a lot of time and a lot of money. Like, you need the committee and then you need the architect and then you need this and then you need that. And it's like, how do we do these things in the most efficient manner possible and the quickest way? Because, if it takes a year to even get an architect to give you plans.
We
No,
approved
we have
them
one,
tonight.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing to say is.
I don't think it's on.
When we did turf fields, we just done football fields and those primary fields, soccer, lacrosse. What sped up the whole process is that we jumped on another municipality's bid. Okay, we were able to jump on I don't know if it was Brookhaven or Babylon, which means we didn't have to put it out to bid. We were able to take advantage of the prices that were already bidded on for those fields. And that saved us a tremendous amount of time because I think the bid openings are, and money too.
Yeah.
I think it's 45 days, for them to respond, and then there's a bid opening, and that's what takes the long time is the red tape that you have to get through to. But I mean, that might be something that we might be able to look at is what other municipalities are putting down fields, and we jump on their bid to speed the process up.
We will definitely scour.
But this field was for next year. It wasn't obviously. It was.
I never heard a time, I don't
Yeah.
know if there was ever a timeline laid out. I just know that there was supposed to be a committee and
I thought it was for the 23-24 school year. Stephanie and then Vinny.
Can we as a board go look at the fields and see this ourselves so that we can, make a plan and see what other deficits and capital improvements and make maybe a priority list? Because $8 million is a lot of money to just, decide to spend without some serious discussion. And then
remember, we get 60% back.
regardless, it's still, it's a lot.
Well, when you're getting 76% back, it's not actually $8 million. It's like two.
Okay.
It's like two and a half.
I would like to see the grounds and
Yeah.
everything, even at every school level, because that's one. Second is that I lost my train of thought with this. I'll get back to the second.
Yeah, no, just the numbers, right? I've got the numbers here from John's capital improvements, right? So the baseball, softball, and tennis upgrades is about almost $10.3 million. So if you're saying it's 76% back, again, let's have that committee and let's look into this and see what the net cost is going to be. We still have to lay out the money, is my understanding. So there's an opportunity cost, right? We're giving up some funds, but it's certainly something that we should embark on. But again, we've got to be able to have it aidable. Like is that the right term?
Yeah.
Building
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
To get that back.
State
We've
approved.
got to be able to link it because spending 10.3 is not, that's a non-starter. But if we can get a lot of it back, then it makes sense, right?
Listen, it's very possible that you put this out and it's not linked to building, Delegate, and you're paying full price for that field.
Is this just high school level, or would this be middle school level, elementary school
school.
level?
This is just high school only. These are just the high school fields and that.
Yeah,
the middle
but that's
school's got a
not
whole nother
necessarily true. I
conversation.
mean, the committee will get together, but if it's a baseball field and we make it multi-purpose, the middle schools can use that
Yeah, that's-
in the
right.
fall,
But
and then the middle
physical
school
location
teams
is
can
just
use
the
it.
Physical location is at the.
No, it's right here. It's right behind this building here, the baseball field. It's right behind Samoset.
That's why,
Which is
can we,
connected
can
to
we
north,
tour
right?
it as a board
It's the
or
north baseball
individually,
field, but
whoever
it's
would
the
like
Samoset.
to? Board tour?
My microphone's dead. We have a Board of Ed tour in August, and what we could do is we could add these sites to it so
Okay.
that board members can see exactly the locations.
And should we add elementary schools to it as well? Because there's been, obviously there's been complaints of turf conditions at every level of school.
So are you
It's always been-
suggesting that we put turf fields at each?
No,
elementary-
absolutely, positively not. Where's the camera? No. No, but if it's a safety issue, we have to address the safety issue across the board, right? We're not going to just
Absolutely.
address the safety issue for the older kids. We
Yeah.
have to do it for all.
Yes. Yeah,
So
reconditioning
that's the
of the-
PTA in me right here.
Meredith?
If we did it, though, it would be done as a capital improvement where the public voted, not.
It would have to be
our
voted,
vote.
yeah,
It
it would have to be
theirs.
voted on. We would put it as a resolution on a board vote, a budget vote. And then the money would actually come out of the capital projects fund,
Right.
which has about $9 million in it right now.
So the public's actually voting
in
yes
essence,
or
we
no.
would be taking money that we had saved, we'd be spending it, and then we would be getting it back over a period of time. Yeah. So-
It's not additional taxpayer money. It's money that we already have.
What other fires do we have to put out in capital improvements? Yeah,
There's a list.
so that, how do we make that list prioritized? Like, this is,
The health,
Right.
the health and safety of the kids and the staff have to come first.
right.
That's it.
But
Yeah,
Given.
so we're gonna do this. We're gonna add this as a future discussion. This way, when Michelle's
That's
up
what
here, she
that's
could
what I tried to
explain,
do.
get into greater detail.
That's what I tried
Instead
to
of
do.
having a discussion now, we could do.
Allison, let's put this on for August, all right? Action item.
Okay,
yeah.
any other future discussion items? I'm gonna go to discussion items, which is board committee applications. I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri to introduce the topic.
Certainly. Thank you very much. I know this past year there was talk around the board advisory committees and the application. Mr. Isernia was kind enough to work through some of his magic to help craft a new membership application. The entire board has seen it at this point, and I think it has approved, for lack of a better word, the new advisory application. It calls for name, address, phone, email, children attending the district, prioritizes which committee you'd want to be on, the Citizen Advisory Audit Committee or the Budget Advisory, the Legislative Committee, Diversity, or Curriculum Council. Those are the choices. Describe experiences or education related to these committees. And have you been on a committee previously? What committees for approximately how long? And talks about how to apply for a committee. So thank you, Ms. Dicerni, for that work. I know we all looked at it and took part in that conversation. So I want to thank you and thank the board for putting that together. And at the behest of the board, I would say we'd put this out as soon as possible. Ms. Florio will talk about that, getting this out, hopefully maybe even the end of this week or beginning of next week, and having then a due date.
Question, okay, Alex?
Not necessarily about the committees, but is this the point of the agenda where you want to let us choose which committees we want to be on?
We could open it up to that, and we
I
could
don't know if you want
discuss
to
that.
start that, or did you want to do that at the end? It's up to you.
Well, let's go around and see, any questions pertaining to the application and then.
Not the application, but the limit. I'm not a fan of the limits on
Okay,
committee
so let's-
members.
let's
So
hold
is
up on
that
that.
something we discuss right now?
Well, we can, but
Part of the
I
application?
think there's some questions about the application itself.
Okay.
So,
No, and Mrs. Florio is also going to put it into a Google form also, correct?
Yes, we have
Just
the
so people
form
have
ready
the
to go.
option of both, just so the public knows. And are we going to choose the date of when
Yeah,
we would like
we
that?
want
Okay.
to give me a date. You have
Just
one
to
in
give
mind?
us that we have a due date, that next board, we approve who's on committees, and then we move forward. So
We can do it for the end of August, so we start the
Yep.
the year.
That sounds good to me.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine. I
no,
mean,
first,
you're talking about the deadline to
Yep.
receive the
Yeah,
application.
but
Mhm.
the only, I don't disagree a due date, but end of August might be too aggressive with people on vacations. We
Yeah.
have to push this till September. I know the audit committee needs to get seated real quick,
Mhm.
and there might be some flexibility. So I'm open, but I think the end of August with people vacations, they may
Yeah,
miss it.
It's
That's all.
July 7th.
Good.
That's a 7-week vacation. I want to go with them.
Most
I
people
missed
aren't-
out on
most
that
people aren't-
vacation.
Most people aren't like us. We're school geeks in the summer. They're taking off, right? So I think we give the public a little bit of time, and maybe in September after the first meeting, in September, the school year starts. People are getting back into the school year.
So are you suggesting like December 15th?
The first September
Uh,
meeting, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Yeah.
So sometime in September, perhaps.
So we'll-
September 7th is our first meeting.
So
and-
why don't we make it,
Deadline September 7th?
no, the meeting after then, because
Yeah,
this way we
remind
could
the
speak
community
to it on the 7th.
Hey, we're in full swing. We need to get the committees up and running.
Yeah, please.
Okay, Meredith?
So I just have a couple issues with putting such a far out date. These committees are supposed to be approved from July 1st to June 30th. When we don't start them until September, we're doing a disservice to our community members. So I would say we make the announcement at tonight's meeting. Maybe we can get one of those cool nifty texts out to everybody saying committee, the committee application is up and it's live and here you go, and start approving people at the next meeting. I don't think we need to necessarily have a certain limit, limited number of people. I think, having as much input from the community as possible is a great thing. I think it would be a wonderful problem to have so many people apply that we have to start thinking about putting a limit on it.
Absolutely.
So if we just say
exactly the
applications open, apply now, we start approving the people that, basically if you apply, you're approved.
Plus, I noticed
Turn
that
anybody
our
away.
description has different limits, and I can't pull it up on my phone right now.
Before we
but
talk about the limits, can I just talk about the app one more second, and then you can go back to the limits on how
just
many
let
people?
me finish my
Yeah.
thought. And if like some had 6, some had none, some were unlimited, some had a minimum of 6. I read.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So I mean, if we could get it a little more cohesive.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Stephanie, last year we had a long discussion. Every committee, okay, had a max of 9, with the exception of Diversity Task Force, that had a max of, I think, 3 or 4 community members. And the reason why that was done, in the discussion was to make it easier to manage a group. Sometimes groups can become so large that, they become less productive and less effective. Which is why we did that. We also limited last year, was it 2 committees per community member? One community member could select up to 2 committees instead of having a person on 5 committees. Now, if we want to revisit that and change that number, we can, but I'm gonna warn you that, I don't remember which school it was. It was either Patrick or Riverhead, that when they initiated their diversity task force committee, they had 43 applicants, okay, and no limit. So at that particular point, you put 43 people on that committee and try to get things done. It becomes very difficult for our administrators to manage it.
Was that the only one we had a lot of?
No,
For us?
I'm just
I
using
know
that
what you're
as an
saying for
example.
Riverhead is an
Yeah,
example,
it was
but for
one
us,
of-
did we have a similar request? Because I could understand if we had hundreds of applications, but we never had that issue in Sachem before.
I mean, look, we had committees that were very large, our school closure committee, and
Right.
you had people with very, very different points of view, and oftentimes it led to,
But for the ones that we're offering now,
I think
we
what-
haven't had,
what
we've
ran
been
last-
begging people.
No, what ran last year was pretty effective. I mean, we never exceeded the cap. I don't think there was anybody waiting in the wings to be on the committees. We were able to accommodate all of the people, and some people were on multiple committees. So the question is, look, I don't have a problem increasing it, but we have to keep it manageable so people like Ron Sachs can manage the group, and people like Michelle could manage, an audit committee, so that it doesn't become too overwhelming. And I don't have a problem, but I mean, that's just my own personal opinion. As far as the start time, I don't care. We could open it now, and we could have open effective until a certain date.
With
and we could
everybody
start-
getting back to normal, I'm wondering if there'll be more interest to be involved. Like we're looking at the past couple of years where everybody was, restricted in what they were able to do. So I'm wondering, and we saw it in every level of volunteerism, so maybe more people will want to volunteer this year. I would hate to have 10 come in or 12, and we're cutting 3 people off. That could have been a complete asset to Sachem.
So what we've done in years past was each committee had a charter. Again, the charter had specific guidelines as to, you had to make meetings. If you signed up for a
Right,
committee
yeah.
and you missed 3
Yeah.
meetings, you were off that committee, and that
Right.
created another spot for
I
another
have
person.
no problem with
Yeah.
that, but I also think that 9's low, and I could be proven totally wrong, but I think 9
I'm
is
sure
is
not.
low.
Alex had a question.
I just want to talk about the app for a second again. If we send out a text message today, and let's just say people forget about it, where can they find the application? Is it going to be where on the website? Because the website, the board wants to put everything right on the main page, which is great, but then it gets lost. So then where do they navigate to find it?
At the current moment, when you go to the homepage, sachem.edu, and then along the top where it says Board of Education, there's a drop down and it says Board Committees. And it's right there with the explanation of everything with the application.
Do they fill it out electronically or they have to print it in and send it in?
They can do either. And then we did update the new application to be a Google form, which can come to me as well.
Okay, great. Sorry, I just want to finish that conversation before we talked about the
Other
numbers.
questions
That could go.
about the application? All right, so we're going to open that up immediately, okay?
Allison will get that out tomorrow, all right?
Okay, and we're going to leave it open, right, to Vinnie's point, up until August to September?
I just want to give the community enough time. But we start it now as we're getting applications, approve them, and then there's a deadline of September 15th, whatever it is, right? So,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Sabrina?
I mean, I would prefer to give a due date that's sooner. I agree with sooner than later. But I would like to have more of, waiting to a point that where we then create the committees where there's at least 5 people, 3 people. If we get 1, we approve 1, then who's that 1 person waiting for when are we going to actually start those committee meetings? So I would rather get ask people to get your applications in sooner than later. Then we start approving people and looking at how many applications are we getting? Are we going to get 50 applications for something, or are we going to get 5? We're having discussions of what ifs and this and that where we don't know what we're getting as of yet. So we could have that discussion then that we're like, hey, we need to talk. We got 50 people for a diversity committee or curriculum council or budget advisory. Let's have a discussion of what do we think is a better option. But we're going back and forth about this when we don't have any idea of what we're actually going to deal with. So I would prefer, let's get the applications in. Let's see who wants to be involved and try to place it. If we get 12 people, then we can have the discussion like, hey, can we just have 12 people? Is it really that difference between 12? I think that's when maybe we could have that discussion, see what we're getting, see who wants to be involved, and go from there. That's my personal, opinion.
Meredith?
So I've done enough PTA work over the years, and I'm sure you ladies can appreciate it. when you give a deadline that's so far in advance, people keep saying, oh, I have time, and then they push it off. So I think maybe get them in as soon as possible, open it up by tomorrow. A Google form is wonderful. I can't believe I just said that. Because they can actually fill it out on their phone and it goes right to us. So I think we'll get a lot of involvement. And like I said, the worst problem that we should have is that too many people want to be involved in it from our community. And you know what? Yes, lots and lots of chefs in the kitchen can spoil the soup, but many hands make light work. So I think that having as much involvement from the community, I can't believe I sound like a grandma tonight, don't I? Having as much involvement from the community as soon as possible is best. And I think, like, don't put a limit on it as of now. Put a due date for sooner. But, you know, for people like me that might be a little scatterbrained and say, oh, I missed the deadline, we're not going to be hard about it. You know, I think that that's probably the best way to go.
So what I got from this is we're going to open it up immediately. We're going to set a deadline sooner. We're going to manage and see what the numbers are. And if we need to extend that deadline to attract more people, we'll extend that deadline to attract more people. All right, so deadline is when? August 10th, August 5th? Give me a date.
Yeah, we'll look at mid-August. and
Mid-August,
we'll-
August
We'll put
15th.
it on when we put it out. Yep, for August 15th somewhere. I don't know what's a Monday. I got it. Look at this. Actually prepared.
It's got to be before that meeting, right? So we can approve.
There's an August 10th meeting. August 15th is a Monday. Then we have August 24th.
We could do Friday, August 5th. And then
A deadline of
the
August 5th.
deadline would, then we would approve on the 10th. And then if we need more people, we extend it.
Extend the timeline. That's fine. Everybody okay with that? Okay, as far as the details of the size, I'm gonna say let's put that off. Only because Laura Slattery is not here. We want to give her the opportunity to at least be able to weigh in on that. And then what we'll do is, we'll go around the room on each one of the items to see where everybody's at. And wherever that majority is as to the structure of the committees, then that's what we'll go with for the year. If we feel that we need to extend it, we could always open that conversation up again. Everybody, yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's see what we attract first, and we'll go from there. Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner? Now, there was a couple of committees. Real quick, we have several committees. Chris, I'm going to go back to that list. Okay. Of the board subcommittees, the Citizen Advisory Audit Committee, Advisory Committee, Legislative Diversity and Curriculum, why don't we take names now of people that want to participate in those committees? And then what we'll do is we'll go to the Safety Committee after that. So right now on our, that's not on there, so Policy Committee is, okay. Any,
No, we can only have 4 board members per.
you can have a maximum of 4 board members per committee, so there's no quorum, which is important. Sachem Curriculum Council, volunteers from the board here. All right, we got Sabrina. Anybody else? Curriculum Council, Meredith. Laura, yeah, yeah. I have her text message. Yeah, Curriculum Council, Laura Slattery. Yeah, Meredith. Any other? Curriculum Council, Diversity Committee. All right, Stephanie Volpe. Anybody else for Diversity Task Force? Meredith. Okay. Sachem Legislative Committee. Okay, Stephanie. Vinny, you want to remain on that committee?
Laura wants to be on.
All right, so Laura Slattery. Okay. Okay, Vinny Reynolds. Meredith, you want to be on it?
Yeah, it was on it. If I could stay, that'd be great.
Okay, that's as long as we don't exceed 4. Yeah. Budget Advisory Committee. All right, Stephanie, Vinny.
Yeah, I'll stay with that one.
Okay. We got 2. All right.
It's exciting.
Citizen Advisory Committee. Is that, I'm sorry, the Audit Committee. I don't have my glasses on. The Audit Committee. Mike Isernia. I got Adam here.
Citizens audit.
Laura Slattery, Audit Committee.
I'm sorry, budget is Stephanie and Vincent, and audit is
Laura and Mike. And the other one is the Policy Committee, which I was on it last year. I mean, I'll do it again if there's no takers. You want to do Policy Committee? I'll step off Policy Committee then. Sabrina, Mike, and Stephanie?
I would, but I don't need to.
Okay.
Like, how many is the average?
Usually like board, we usually jump on 2 committees.
Oh, right, well, I'm at 3,
That's fine.
so I'm all right, you know.
All right, so
Policy
is Sabrina, Mike, I'll
Policy
stay.
committee has.
We only
input.
met twice last year.
Right.
And what the function of the policy committee is to review our current policies, to update the ones that are been aged out.
Right.
It's board members only, it's not community.
All right, I'll take that.
All right, Meredith? And all the other 2 committees was the district-wide safety committee, okay, as well as the safe committee. I know there's going to be a lot of people that want this one. I did serve on it last year. I'd like to continue to serve on that one. But we'll open it up for conversation.
I've been on both of them for the last 2 years. I'd like to remain on as well.
All right, so put Alex's name down. Let's see how many we get. All right. Laura.
So which 2 committees, right? There's health,
Well, one is the district-wide, and then one is,
safety, and
yeah.
district-wide security. So there's 2 separate and distinct committees.
yeah,
But they
district.
kind of flow into each other.
They flow into each other.
Yeah.
So if you're on one, you're usually on the other.
Yeah.
Like I said, did people fall off of it?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if I could put my name on the district-wide, only because I've been on it, and I want to continue,
You and Alex thus far, district-wide, right?
Not-
Laura Slattery.
Yeah, I was on it last year, but if somebody else wants to take my spot, that's
Matthew,
fine.
is that 4?
Okay. I have Alex, Rob,
And if there's-
Matthew, and Laura.
If there's anyone interested, we could put alternates that if Matthew or you or someone
No.
can't attend, then that person can.
And then the health, I don't have any names for the health right now.
Usually the same people are on health.
Okay,
The health is a bigger group,
Ah.
and then it's about stand.
all right. Anyone have a problem? Is that all right, Matthew? Gotta keep you up. We're gonna vote.
I just have a question.
Sure, Meredith?
So I know that 4 people from the board can't serve on that committee.
4
and
can, 5 can't.
5 can't.
Yes.
And have input and so on. But it is the truth that any board member can sit in on any meeting, just not have anything to say. They sit
I'm going to
quietly
turn
in
it
the
over to
room.
Chris. If there's 5, does that denote a quorum?
It's certainly not a good idea. If you're present, I wouldn't recommend that because it could be deemed to be a quorum if you're present. I wouldn't recommend that you have more than 4 board members
So once
present.
there's a 5th board member, it has to open up to public session. And then you're discussing safety and security. It's
Now,
probably not-
everything except our safety and security is open to anyone in the public, or are there going to be
They-
public meetings?
Well, there are
Policy is not open, or is it open?
policy committee.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, there's certain ones that
yeah,
are,
hey,
diversity is not either.
they're not subject to open meetings laws,
They're
some of
not.
these subcommittees. They're not. So
Yeah, because.
that was a big
because-
question a couple of years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
and we flushed that out. It's in the book.
Yeah.
They're not open, they're not.
Yeah,
subject to
because they're
open
not
meetings laws, because they're not. 'cause we
Making
have the public,
decisions.
Right.
They're just making recommendations.
Right.
They're not subject to open meeting laws. If the committee was making decisions for the district and there was money expended, then it would be subject to open meeting laws. So to Vinnie's point, that's correct. All right.
Can I be an alternate on safety?
Sure, we put her down as an alternate. You just have to double check, to make sure that somebody's missing that day. And then you would just fill
I
in.
would only show up if invited, right?
Okay.
I can't go if there's a quorum.
Yeah, so
Somebody's out,
yeah.
they can email.
So Patty, you were on that committee. If you could just make a note so that if there's a board member that's not going to be there, that we invite.
Yes, I have her down as an alternate.
Okay. All right, any questions about committees? All right. So on that discussion item, are we set, Chris? Is there any committees that are missing?
I think we're good. Allison? Yep, all right, so tomorrow we'll compare notes.
Okay. We did future agenda items. Our next meeting is scheduled next meeting, July 6th, reorganization meeting, following meeting is July 20th, 2022 at 7 PM here in the boardroom. At this particular point in time, I need a motion to go into exec session to discuss personal matters related to suspension of a staff member made known to the board, as well as the discussion of future employment in district office. Meredith?
Motion.
Okay, second by Alex. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried. Thank you for coming out.